all praise to Allah, the one true God of Abraham, who we know as Ibrahim alayhi salam, and all the prophets, especially the last and final messenger, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Now, the reason I've set up this dialogue / debate, whatever you want to call it, between these two guys is Carlton, for example, is somebody I've known for 6 years, and he's a very nice guy. We spend so much time debating with some of these deranged evangelicals, some of them who hate Islam so much that they cross-dress for some reason these days. And if the Christians are watching this video, they know who the cross-dressing missionaries are. This is why I like, from time to time, setting up debates with decent people, decent representatives of Christianity, and I feel that Carlton is one of them. So, the topic tonight is Jesus God? And representing the Muslim side, who will go first, is Brother Hamza. Brother Hamza Mayat embraced Islam 15 years ago. He's one of the regulars that attends Hyde Park Speaker's Corner. This is actually his first moderated debate, so hopefully Carlton will take it easy on him. Representing the Christian side is Carlton MacDonald. He's been a Christian for 35 years, since the age of 20, and has engaged in a few dialogues with Muslims, such as Dr. Shabia Ali and Brother Sadat Anwar and Adnan Rashid as well. He believes the Bible is the word of God and particularly likes to focus on prophecy. He respects Muslims and Islam and sees believers in their Creator as brothers. The format will be as follows: 20 minutes, up to 20 minutes opening statements, then 10 minutes first rebuttals, 5 minutes second rebuttals, and then there will be a 10-minute crossfire period where both sides will get 5 minutes each to basically question the other side. After that, we will break up for Maghrib and for some food, and then we will commence the Q&A. I'll give the format for the Q&A at the time. One last thing before they start is I'd just like to say Jazakallah khair to Brother Tasneef and for the brother allowing us to use these premises. So with that, you can start now.
Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And peace be with you, Carlton.
Thank you.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. As Brother Zakir said, I'm an English revert to Islam. I embraced Islam 15 years ago. Originally I was an atheist, and from there I became an agnostic, where I believed in a creator, and then from there obviously I became a Muslim. I'd like to thank Zakir here for arranging the debate, mashallah, giving my first foray into this kind of field, and hopefully it's the first of many, inshallah. Also, I'd like to thank Carlton for being my first guinea pig with regards to this, to see how I can basically handle myself at this level. Anyhow, the title of the debate is Jesus God? Now before I continue, I'm going to be reading a lot because I've not memorized this. So as I said, I'm not used to this kind of format, so I want to make sure I get everything out there. So I might be looking at the paper most of the time, listen to the words I'm saying, rather than concentrate on how I'm doing it. Okay. So the question, is Jesus God? Now we need to understand the question before we can answer it. So what do we mean by God? Now there are many different understandings of the word God. So it's important to know what we're talking about so we can test the claim fairly without creating any straw man definitions. So by this word, I'm referring to an almighty creator who is all-powerful, all-knowing. The type of creator an agnostic may concede exists. May not go as far as believing in religion, but they'll accept that there must be something and it must be all-powerful and it must be all-knowing to have created everything that exists. These are also some of the attributes of God that we will find in the Bible as well. So now we can understand what is meant by God. We can now try and answer the question. Is Jesus an all-powerful, all-knowing creator of the heavens and earth, who guided the prophets of the past, gave them power to perform miracles, the one who told Noah to build an ark, the one who told Abraham to circumcise himself and to sacrifice his son, the one who helped Moses rescue the children of Israel from the Pharaoh, the one who put Jesus in the womb of Mary? So this is the question we're asking. So now before I try to unravel this question, I need to tell you the method I'll be using. First of all, I've come to know that not all Christians believe the same thing when it comes to Jesus, who he was. Even if they belong to the same denomination, there are still differences. Now, from the little knowledge I have of Carlton, now I'll be honest with you, this was a few years ago I watched his debate. he seems to believe in things which would be heresy according to the teachings of mainstream Orthodox Christianity. And back in the day, he would have been burned at the stake for such a heresy. So today, I'm not here to debate heretical beliefs. I'm here to address the claims of mainstream Orthodox Christianity. If I'm wrong about Carlton and he doesn't subscribe to any heresy, then that's great, as I will be directly addressing him and his beliefs as well. Now, another thing. For this debate, I'll not be approaching it from an Islamic angle, as I see no point in trying to use Islamic sources to determine this claim, when those sources are not accepted by mainstream Orthodox Christianity as reliable or valid. So I will not be appealing to the Quran, Hadith, or any Islamic school of thought to support my position with regards to this claim. In fact, for the purpose of this debate, I'm going to forget the fact I'm even a Muslim. I'm going to go back in time 15 years to when I was an agnostic. Now, the reason I'm doing this are twofold. The first reason, I don't want to look at this through preconceived biased glasses, trying to fit Jesus into my worldview as a Muslim. Second, and for me this is more interesting, because after I became a Muslim, I met Christians. And when I told them I embraced Islam, they said to me, you only became a Muslim because they got to you first. That if we Christians got to you first, you'd have become a Christian, but because they got to you, you became a Muslim. Because once you're agnostic, we would have just shown you the truth, which is Jesus died for your sins and Jesus is God. Now, for that to happen, I would need to accept Jesus is God. And so here we are. An agnostic testing this claim, is Jesus God? Now, I warn you guys, back then I was a pure logical intellectual tip, and thus that is how I'm approaching this. Pure logic. Yeah, no emotion here, no hocus pocus here, no smoke and mirrors here. Pure logic, simple logic. So how can I test this claim? Well, first I need to know about Jesus and who he was, what he said, and what people said about him. So what sources could I use to find the information I need? Well, one thing is for sure, secular history isn't going to help me, as according to historians, there's nothing written about Jesus and his miracles anywhere outside of the Bible that will remotely help this claim. So that's a pointless exercise. So the only thing we have left to test the claim is the Bible. So let's look at the Bible and let's see if we can find this claim in there. Well, the Bible's split into two parts, the Old Testament and the New Testament. Now, is there anything in the Old Testament that can help us? Well, as far as I have seen, Jesus isn't mentioned by name in the Old Testament. There is, however, prophecies of a Messiah that the Jews were waiting for. Also, it is pretty clear from the Old Testament that God is an all-powerful, all-knowing, and has no partners. We read this in Isaiah 45:5. I am the Lord, there is no other. Apart from me, there is no God. I will strengthen you, though you have not acknowledged me. There is nothing here to indicate that this Messiah will be this one God. So now we have seen the Old Testament can't help the claim. We're only left with what? The New Testament. Now, before we do this, we need to try and establish which Bible version should be relied upon. As we know, there are many different versions. Some claiming verses have been removed wrongly, whilst others claiming words have been put into the mouth of Jesus he may never have said. Now, I know Carlton here loves the KJV. Not sure why. I think it's because he thinks that you can't prove there's fabricated verses within it, because nothing is removed. And maybe he can tell us that when he presents. Anyhow, the New Testament. Now, this is made up of the supposed letters of Paul, the supposed epistles of the apostles, Acts of the Apostles, and 4 different versions of the prophetic life of Jesus, and of course a dream at the end. So which of these sources can help our claim? Well, the supposed letters of Paul cannot help us, as he himself never met Jesus. He never sat with him, he never ate with him, he never travelled with him, he never heard any of his parables, nor witnessed any of his miracles. He claims to have met Jesus on the road to Damascus, but I would ask the question, how would he have known who he was talking to? For me, his supposed letters cannot help the claim. Now we come to Acts of the Apostles, or as it seems, the Acts of Paul. Now for me, this is a dubious source, as its supposed author, Luke, is also somebody who never walked with Jesus. He seems to focus most of his book on Paul and his teachings and adventures. Although it does contain some accounts of the chosen disciples of Jesus, and thus those could be looked at and examined too, if they support that Jesus is the one God here in the flesh. The epistles could also be looked at, although there's a question mark over their authorship. The dream at the end cannot be verified. From what I have read, the writing styles of Revelations and that of the Gospel of John are different. So this indicates they're not written by the same person. So finally, after stripping everything else away, we're left with the 4 different versions of the prophetic life of Jesus, also known as the 4 Gospels. Now, even within these Gospels, there are problems. First thing, they're anonymous. None of the authors disclose their identity. So we don't even know if they were the ones there present, eyewitnesses. We don't know this. That's the first problem we have. Now, the first three Gospels, Mark, Matthew, and Luke, are also known as Synoptic Gospels. Now, they all seem to tell the story in roughly the same way with a few minor details changed. It's thought that the anonymous authors of Luke and Matthew copied much of their work from the anonymous author of Mark, as well as taking extra verses from the mysterious Q source of which there is no trace. If you read the verses found in these Gospels, you will see Jesus evolving from a prophet to something more spectacular. For example, when Peter is asked in Mark 8:29, "Who do you say I am?" he replies, "You're the Messiah." Jesus responds, "Don't tell anyone about this." Now in Matthew 16:16, the same question is asked. Peter responds this time, "You are the Messiah, the Son of the living God." Then Jesus says, "Flesh and blood have not revealed this, but my Father in heaven." So we see now the author of Matthew has embellished. He's added extra words now. Mark never said "Son of the living God." Now we have extra words from Matthew. Another example is in Mark 5:30, where Jesus is touched by someone in the crowd and he felt power drain and he asked, "Who touched my clothes?" This is showing a lack of knowledge. In Matthew 9, he has no need now to ask who touched him. In the same incident, he turns and he knows whoever she is and he says, "Why did you touch me?" So the lack of knowledge has now been removed. So we can see this evolution occurring. Now a final example how Jesus wasn't all-knowing and all-powerful, and again another example of this evolution, is in Mark 11:12 we find the story of the fig tree. It goes like this. Jesus was hungry after traveling from Bethany. He saw a fig tree in leaf in the distance. He went to see if he could find anything to eat. When he came to it, all he found was leaves, because it wasn't the season for figs. Jesus then curses this poor innocent tree that had done nothing more than follow its creator's will, saying, "May nobody eat of your fruit again." The next morning, whilst passing the tree, Peter saw the fig tree dried up from the roots and told Jesus about it. Jesus responds by saying, "Faith in God can do more than that." It's as if he's proud of what he's done. He's saying, "Yeah, we've done the tree, don't worry about that. If you have faith in God, you can move a mountain." So there was no remorse for the tree. Yeah, it's done. Okay. Now in Matthew 21:19, we find subtle differences. Instead of the fig tree being in the distance, it's now on the roadside, meaning Jesus didn't traipse across to get to this tree realizing there was nothing there. It's been reduced for him now, so it just happened to be next to him. Second thing, the reason why there was no figs on the tree is also removed. So in Mark, where we know there was no figs because why? It wasn't the season for figs. Matthew now has removed that. So now the tree has no excuse for not having figs. Also, the miracle is instant. When Jesus curses the tree in Matthew, it withers immediately. Whereas in Mark, it's the next day it withers. So we can see Mark's embellishing again. Now, the other thing which should also be noted here, the actual incident of the fig tree. Now, according to Matthew, Jesus cursed the tree after driving the money changers out of the temple. You know, when he overturned the tables. Anyhow, in Mark, whilst in Mark, it is before he carries out that assault. So there's a difference here. We've got a chronological problem now. This is supposed to be historical eyewitness testimony according to Christian sources. Now we find the event is actually taking place at different times. So this is something else for us to look at. The story highlights the fact, though, that Jesus was not all-knowing because he didn't know there was no figs on the tree. It shows he wasn't powerful because why, if he is God, make the figs grow, make bananas grow, forget figs, yeah? And why judgment is called into question when he destroys a perfectly healthy tree? So these are things to consider when you're trying to say that Jesus is an all-powerful God walking on earth. Even the young girl he heals is exaggerated. In Mark, the girl is sick. In Matthew, she's already dead. So we can look more at problems with the Gospel of Matthew later and its exaggerations. Now we come to the fourth Gospel. The Gospel named John is another anonymously written book. Now this appears to be a completely different animal to the first three Gospels. According to Bible scholars, there are 3 different authors involved with it. Now I'm pretty sure this is going to be the main source of Calton's claims. Anyhow, for the purpose of debate, I will not challenge the authorship for now, and I'll treat it with the same amount of merit that Orthodox Christianity gives to it, although I will of course question interpretation. So there we have it. I've narrowed down the source of which the claim can be fully tested. The 4 versions of the ministry of Jesus, of which contain the supposed teachings of Jesus. Now the first question to ask, did Jesus himself make a claim that he is God? Or did he show distinction between himself and God? Well, a simple answer is no, he didn't. If you read the verses found in the Gospels, it's clear that he is not making such a claim. Second question, did he demonstrate to the people he was God in the flesh? Did he demonstrate an all-knowing capacity? Did he demonstrate an all-powerful capacity? What is it that gave Orthodox Christians the belief that Jesus walking on the earth was God? From what I can see, there is nothing. Also, a further problem is now created. As we know from these Gospels that Jesus prayed to God, begged God to be saved from the cross, cried out to God whilst on said cross, never claimed any power was his own, giving recognition to God, the one who sent him. So now the question needs to be asked, how can God be Jesus as well as be the one being prayed to, etc.? Because if there is only one God, then your claim is that Jesus is God, which means God is Jesus. So now I've established where we should find the reasons for this claim. Let's hear the claim and the reasons for it. Thank you.